Amorim coming under more pressure to get a result versus Crystal Palace. Shay Lacy could indeed make his debut tomorrow. There's been links to Ivan Toney, there's been links to Edison. But Adam Wharton is a player that Manchester United like. It might be a hard player to get, and it might depend on Ruben Amorim. Amorim also speaks about wingbacks, which is an ongoing issue at Manchester United and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your your 10-minute news roundup video. I'm going to round up all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more into 10 minutes for you guys. We're going to start by talking about the pressure on Ruben Amorim, and I think he deserves a bit of pressure on him. Don't get me wrong, Ruben Amorim isn't the sole problem. Some of the players need to do better, some of the players need to step up. Of course, he doesn't have all the players and personnel he needs, but I do think tactically, I think Ruben Amorim should be doing better with the players he has available, because I do think we have a better squad than how I think we've performed the last few games. And you might say that's quite negative, Alice, because if we'd have won our last game, we would have been in fifth right now, and that we were 5 games unbeaten. I get that, but when you look at the fact that Newcastle have just battered Everton 4-1, it's not a good look. We had 80 minutes against a 10-man Everton side where Tottenham, who have been atrocious lately, went and beat Everton 3-0. Where Newcastle have gone and beat Everton 4-1, we can't even put the ball in the back of the net. And yes, there was no Cunha. Yes, there was no Sesko. Yes, a lot of the new signings were out. But I felt that the tactical approach from Ruben Amorim was cowardly. Now, it's not his fault that some of our players cannot do simple things like pass the ball, that Dorgu can't cross the ball, that Xerxes not a goal scorer as a number 9. That's not Ruben Amorim's fault. But Ruben Amorim had the same approach for the whole 90 minutes versus Everton. Even when they went down to 10 men, he had about 7 defensive-minded players on the pitch. And I just think other teams would have gone at Everton. And if we'd have gone at Everton and tried something different, and Ruben Amorim had been tactically flexible and adaptable, could we got a result? And we could be in fifth right now. And if we got a result versus Everton, and if we're in fifth right now, the conversations around Ruben Amorim are very different. Because the Forest game was not a good performance. The Tottenham game, and Tottenham have failed to win 6 out of the last 7 games, was not a good performance. And the Everton game was probably one of our worst performances under Ruben Amorim. That's 3 bad performances in a row. 2 points out of a possible 9. Yes, we won those 3 games in a row, but it was to a Liverpool side that can't win a game. Brighton was a good win, and of course Sunderland was a good win. But I need to see more. The football we're seeing isn't, oh, this is the future. We saw a few adaptations with Le Mans on the long ball, which is great when we don't dominate possession. But when we're expected to dominate possession, we need to see more. Because Tottenham can't win a game at home. The only game they've won at home this season is Burnley, first game of the season. And then they pretty much lost the game, and they've drew to Wolves and they drew to us, and they lost all the other home games. We're not in the same category as Wolves and Burnley, but Tottenham could have easily beaten us if it wasn't for Matthias de Ligt. We didn't do enough to win that game. When I look at how Tottenham have been, and when I look at how Everton have been, and I look at our last 2 performances, I am disappointed. And I think tactically they've been poor, but of course I'm not putting all the blame on Amorim. These players need to up the intensity. Some of these players can't do the basics. But I think there's a bit of pressure on Amorim. And if we don't get European football, we're going to miss out on big transfer targets like Adam Wharton. And that is a big discussion for Man United to have, whether they should keep Amorim or not. Before we dive into that and the news on Adam Wharton, I want to talk about Shay Lacy. I want to talk about the game tomorrow and his potential debut. Now, we did a video earlier today talking about JJ Gabriel. JJ Gabriel and Shay Lacy are probably the 2 highest rated academy talents at the club. And Shay Lacy is more likely to get first team involvement this season because JJ Gabriel can't in the league. So, Sully is well connected to the club in the academy, and he said Shay Lacy is set to be in the United squad against Palace tomorrow, and Sully is right 99% of the time. He is travelling with the squad earlier today, and there's a possibility he could even get a debut considering injuries. Cunha will be out, Sesko will be out. We're quite light in that area. I think it will be Mbumo right 10, I think Xerxes striker, and either Bruno or Ahmad probably left 10 or Mount left 10. But I think there's an opportunity there for Shay Lacy to potentially come on in the 10 role and Mbumo to maybe be moved up top. I think that would be quite interesting if we saw Shay Lacy right 10 and Mbumo up top. You might see Mount left 10. We might see something different. We know that Shay Lacy's really impressed Amorim in training, and Amorim might be open to giving him a debut. I'm just going to say, Eddie Howe threw Lewis Miley in today against Everton, and Lewis Miley was incredible. And Lewis Miley's not played a whole lot of minutes the last year and a half. So I'm all for throwing Shay Lacy, and he's obviously a lot less experienced than Lewis Miley, but he's 18, the kids look really good, and he could be involved. And I think with AFCON coming up, Ruben Amorim's planning to integrate him. And I do think right now, Crystal Palace, we need someone a bit different. I think it would be a good time to integrate him. He could work with Ahmed on that right-hand side. So that'd be interesting. But we know that obviously we've got issues at wing-back and we've got issues in midfield at Man United, and we know that we need to fix that in the window. So this has been said by the Cross Daily Star, who I don't think is the best source of information, but they said United are confident of signing Adam Wharton next summer in a 70 million deal, but he will not leave Palace to join a club that cannot offer European football. Can Amorim do that? We can only get Adam Wharton if we have European football. We might only be able to get Elliot Anderson if we have European football. Right now, we are near 15th again. I know we've got the game in hand, but yes, the table's so close. We're a win away from being 5th and offering European football. We're now 12th. We're now 12th in the Premier League. That's not anywhere near European football with the money that we spent. To sign Adam Wharton for apparently 70 million, apparently he's got a release clause of 65, 70 million active in the summer. We need European football. Probably Champions League, but I think Europa League could be enough. I strongly believe that this team is good enough to get in the Europa League next season. But I think that Ruben Amorim, stubbornness and lack of tactical flexibility is holding us back. I think the injuries haven't helped. I think there's still parts of the squad that isn't Ruben Amorim's fault, and I don't think a new manager comes in and gets us top 4, but I think a new manager can come in and get us top 6. I want to see something from Ruben Amorim versus Palace. I need to see flexibility, I need to see positive football, and most importantly, I need to see 3 points. Because we might have to sack Amorim to get our best chances of getting Elliot Anderson and Adam Wharton. Because if it gets to a point where we feel like Ruben Amorim is not going to achieve European football this season, then they need to pull the trigger. Now, right now, it's so close, a win puts us in European spots. But if we get to Christmas time and we are now 7-8 points off, I think that's when you have to look at, do you get a new manager in and push for European football? Because I think this summer, this will really impact our transfer window, and our chances of getting Adam Wharton and potentially Elliot Anderson with Manchester City willing to go all out for Elliot Anderson could massively depend on European football. Could massively. Let's dive into other transfer stories. Manchester United have been linked with Ivan Toney and could be open to adding a more experienced striker in 2026 if the right opportunity arrives. I think that Xerxes is going to be sold in 2026, particularly if Amorim stays, and I think we'll want an experienced striker for Sesko to learn from. The dream is Harry Kane. It could be Ivan Toney. I like Ivan Toney. I don't like his wages. It depends how much he'd be willing to come to United for and what his attitude is, because there is concerns about attitudes when, I'm not saying. I think when you turn down other Premier League clubs for a big money move to Saudi, I do question, is it about money? Does he want to come here? Does he want to perform? John Duran was brilliant, and John Duran, a young player, basically is just completely fallen off, and there's questions, he's got his paycheck and he's ran off. There's questions over his attitude. He didn't do very well in Saudi at all. Now, obviously, Ivan Toney is a lot more experienced than Duran, for example, but I do sometimes have that concern when players go to Saudi. How are they going to do when they come back to the Prem? Because he got 6 goals in the Saudi League last year in 13 games. It wasn't great. I like Ivan Toney. I would have wanted him. I want an experienced striker for Sesko to learn from. But I don't know if Ivan Toney is the best answer. I don't know if he's really up for it to play for United. But I think he's a good player. But Harry Kane would be my experienced striker. Not even against Lewandowski either. Romano said this. So this came from Fritz Romano. Edison's a player we were linked to a lot in the summer. I don't think we're going to go for Edison because he's a bit like Agate, and I think we want to get rid of Agate for weaknesses on the ball. And I think Edison, while he's a better ball carrier, has similar strengths and weaknesses to Agate, or he might be the Agate replacement if we sell him. But there was talk of basically Edison's price potentially being like 25 to 30 million in the summer because he's got 1 year left in his contract, and it's not a bad price. And Man United said the priority midfielders are Anderson and Baleba, but they'll also look at opportunities. So they want to get one of Anderson and Baleba, plus if Edison's available for 25 million and Agate goes, they may see that as an opportunity. So that could be one to keep an eye on. And then Ruben Amorim was asked about wing-backs, and he said we need time to improve the characteristics of the team. We should have had enough to play against 10 men. It is these characteristics we will change. He said, I don't know how you read the data on Palace players. You can't compare. Sometimes you want to change a lot. Most of the time I put Ahmed on the right, but he moves a lot. They are doing the things really well. They play in transition more than us. all of these we look at, but in all of the positions we can do so much better, is what Ruben Amorim said on if the wing-backs need to improve, and he just said we need to improve the characteristics of the team, which I agree with, but Ruben Amorim also needs to agree his tactical approach. I don't think it's get rid of Ruben Amorim and we're a much better team. I don't think it's change all the players and we're a much better team. I think that it's a mixture of both Ruben Amorim and the players that need to step up. Thank you for watching today's video. See you next time. Bye.